The WWE has sold to Endeavor, which intends to merge the WWE with the UFC into a new publicly traded company. Of course, this was the news that took over WrestleMania weekend, almost overshadowing the loss of Cody Rhodes, of course, right? Priorities, big stories first. But this was huge. We all knew this was coming. This was the big news for the last several months. Endeavor was certainly a name that was bantered about. People were talking about Endeavor. Some people were dead on with their predictions of Endeavor to be the company that's going to buy the WWE. And that's exactly what happened. Now, it's not official, but there appears to be a letter of intent that was signed to make the official announcement. Now it's just all the proper paperwork and due diligence at this point. And then this is going to be a thing. The UFC and the WWE are officially now going to be under one umbrella. The biggest news story in certainly of this year, I would imagine, for professional wrestling. And who better to tell you all about it than the two men responsible for making this deal possible? And let's go ahead and check out this clip with Mr. Vince McMahon and his mustache and his new boss, Ari, whatever the fuck his name is. Check out this clip.
Endeavor was mentioned throughout this entire process.
Yep.
And now you're the last person standing. Why the WWE?
He decided not to body slam me. But, you know, we've brought together in a pure play the UFC and the WWE into a new publicly traded company. It's very rare to get iconic brands like the UFC and the WWE together. Together, I mean, individually, they're incredible assets. Together with the flywheel of Endeavor, which we've built, I think makes them unicorns.
Let me say it another way.
Go.
This is the biggest thing Ari, Emanuel, and Vince McMahon have ever done.
Yeah.
Combining forces like this there's nothing like this. There's never been anything like this. People have been talking about this for a long time.
There were a lot of other suitors.
Sure they
here.
were, but Ari, really, the synergies, everyone was very interested in us, and I appreciate that. But the synergies that Ari brings, totally different than everyone else.
So the Saudis were said to be interested.
Sure.
Liberty said
Yes.
to be interested, and others.
Yes.
And you had your pick.
Yes.
And Endeavor ends
here
up
he is.
the place.
Right.
Well, you know the fun thing? We've known each other for 23 years. He, when I was a young agent, said, why don't you represent us? It was an honor then. Throughout the pandemic, we got even closer. We've sold the media rights. There's a lot of trust here. But I think we've built a flywheel that Vince realized the value, and what we did with the UFC, he could see what we could do with his assets. And I'll just give him a little credit right here. He saw cable when nobody saw cable, and he built a national brand way back in the day when there was about 15 different promoters out there. He built an in-house sales force to sell the product that nobody had, pay-per-view, took it public, and last but not least, I think 5-6 years ago, he went direct to consumer when none of us were thinking about direct to consumer. So us being in business with Vince, and now you're sitting there with a guy who's seen around the corner better than anybody in our space, and him being able to play with our flywheel, just look out.
And this is the right business decision. Thus far, it's the right family decision.
What I thought was interesting, Ari, is that Vince is going to be the executive chairman of the new company.
Right.
That implies that he is going to have a say.
Well, I would have said the following. I would have body slammed him if he thought he was going to leave. Because as I said to you before, here's a man who has seen around the corners at every beat over the last 40 years of this business and has a vision for where this business, way before a lot of people see it. Him now being able to utilize what we have built in our flywheel, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, because I got Vince McMahon, a visionary that sees around corners. I got Dana White and what we've built, That's pretty unstoppable.
So you wanted him to stay?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God.
Did he have to convince you to stay?
Not that much.
Why does Vince look like that? It drives me fucking nuts. Who told him this was a good idea? Who said wearing a goddamn mustache like a supervillain from the 1940s was a good look in 2023? I'll never know. He's got his hair dyed black. He looks ridiculous. He really does. Emanuel, happy with his purchase, seems to believe in the WWE product and a WWE product that's merged with the UFC. Keeps talking about this goddamn flywheel. I don't know what that means. I've never heard this term in business. I'm guessing it just means the machine that Endeavor already has put together to plug and play everything with the marketing and the promotions and stuff. This probably plays into WWE's recent announcement that they're pushing to get legalized for gambling, because I think the whole betting and stuff is a big thing for the UFC. So I think that's something that they're trying to slide in with that. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they do business with the WWE, what's going to change exactly. We know, at least for now, Ari was very clear that he's not going to get involved with creative. He said that in this interview that we pulled this clip from, that for all intents and purposes, WWE is going to be run exactly the way that it's run right now. It's just going to have the Endeavor machine behind it. Similar to UFC, when they purchased UFC, Dana White stayed in charge of it. The fucking the Silva dude, what's his, Dave Silva, Joe Silva, whoever the fuck, the Giant Silva, whoever it was, whoever their booker is, their matchmaker over there, their whole machine stayed. The whole internal how we book fights and promote fights and everything all stayed the same, essentially. But there were little changes. I'm wondering, did the Reebok deal with the gear, so everybody lost the sponsorship on their shorts and shit, did that happen with the purchase of Endeavor? I think it might have. The stupid UFC title belts look like shit now. I wonder if that was an Endeavor thing. I like the old ones better. These ones look like trash. So it will be interesting. I imagine we will see changes over time. A lot of people are predicting the demise of Vince McMahon too. Vince McMahon is the executive chairman of this new company, whatever it's going to be. He is technically above Dana White. Somebody asked somewhere along the way, is Vince McMahon Dana White's boss now? No, not really. No, Dana answers to Ari. But technically within the corporate structure, Vince McMahon is at a higher corporate level within the same company as Dana White. Vince is the executive chairman of a company that Dana White is a president of a subsection of. Same equal level as Nick Khan for the WWE. So certainly Vince McMahon could oversee the UFC. I mean, he's overseeing this entire company, not WWE. So he's the executive chairman of whatever this new brand is going to be. It's going to be traded under the ticker, which is just this little 3-letter gimmick that they put for the trading, under the ticker TKO. So we don't know if that's a hint towards, is this going to be TKO fucking promotions, entertainment? Who knows what it's going to be. But Vince is the executive chairman of the whole thing, not just WWE. But he is now the minority shareholder. So with all of this fire Vince McMahon chatter and stuff like that, Sean Ross Sapp has come out and said that Endeavor is very aware of the backlash that happened when Vince took over Raw this week. We will talk about that in a separate clip. But Vince McMahon being back has stirred up a lot of shit, and now there's that big hashtag and this big movement to fire Vince. I don't know that that's going to go anywhere. Dana White slapped his fucking wife in public and did not get fired. So I doubt that Vince McMahon, after already settling, he has no pending criminal charges at this time. Everything's kind of shaken out, if you will, at least for now, with all his scandals and stuff. And I just don't believe that they're going to, the way that Ari was sucking his dick and stuff in that interview, I don't imagine that they're going to look at a Vince McMahon and say, oh, he's out of touch and doesn't know what he's doing. You know, Ari seems to think that Vince McMahon is this genius who has saw around the corner, as he said it, for all of these big things in the world of professional wrestling or sports entertainment or whatever. And he really has. Even at MMA, UFC has borrowed a lot from WWE's style. So, but I do think, you know, it's been speculated that, you know, with Vince not having the majority shares anymore, he doesn't have final say anymore. Emanuel does. Endeavor does. And the shareholders are going to be, I believe, 6 from the Endeavor side and 5 from the WWE side. So even the shareholders will have majority, or the board of directors will have a majority in favor of Endeavor. So the idea is that Vince McMahon theoretically could get pushed out from now on. You know, being a minority stakeholder in this, he is not going to be able to push his way back into shit like he was to get back in to oversee this sale. So they very well could just, you know, hey, we want you aboard so that we can seal the deal, and then we're going to kick you to the curb the first chance we get when the board things comes up. Now, Vince was very smart. Vince signed himself a contract before this sale went public, and it very much is tied to that. Make no mistake. Like a 2-year deal or something like that. So he's going to be able to stay with the company for at least 2 years. And if not, he's going to get a nice fat golden parachute, which he will anyway. He's a billionaire multi-times over now at this point. He's a very rich man. So I don't think Vince is going to be, I don't know that Vince will retire with this company. I think he probably will end up getting pushed out at some point, and it will be interesting to see what Endeavor does with the WWE once they have their dirty little paws over it. Just looking at what they're doing with UFC, they are not going to go in and micromanage. We're not going to see anybody from Endeavor coming in trying to book the WWE or decide who goes over at WrestleMania or what big star attraction to bring in. That shit's not going to happen. But what we might run into is, you know, contract negotiations could be different. You know, Endeavor might not cut as big of checks. They might cut bigger checks. They might not want to do business with grouchy, grumpy people with big opinions and egos like we're known to experience in professional wrestling. Endeavor's not going to play that shit. They're a talent agency. They're, you know, a sports brand with the UFC. I just can't imagine that they're going to sit and deal with shitty egos and big contract negotiations. And maybe they'll be hands off with that, but I can imagine shit like that happening, different sponsorship deals, moves in the pay-per-view industry. That's something we could end up seeing as well, because UFC charges goddamn what, $70, $80 for their fucking pay-per-views every month. WWE free on Peacock, or $5.99 or $10 or whatever they're charging. It's a big old difference from what it would be for UFC. So maybe they'll make that change as well. So there are changes that we're probably going to likely see. Vince probably won't be around forever. Who knows if Triple H is sticking around at this point, if he's pushed out. You know, we heard he was not in charge of Raw at all, but he was in charge of SmackDown. So who knows where all of this is going. But this is the story of the year, make no doubt about it. This is a big, big deal. This is the first time that the WWE has been out of the McMahon family ever in the history of life. You know, starting with fucking Jess McMahon, and then Vince Sr., and then Vince Jr. Never made it to a Stephanie or a Shane or a Hunter. It's sold now to the same company that owns the UFC. And that's a big pickup for them, man. This is a good pairing too. They are two separate types of, you know, one's a sport, one's entertainment, but they're not entirely dislike each other either. There's enough crossover to where they can really combine offices. You know, there's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be lost in this, a lot of office jobs. A lot of people are going to get cut because there's redundancies. They don't need, you know, 2 people. They don't need all those same people in like every department, marketing and this and that and the other thing. This will be interesting to see how this works in production. Are they going to combine production crews? Because UFC has their own production team. They're going to get rid of like a Kevin Dunn and all the WWE's production value, or is UFC going to get rid of theirs and bring on board WWE's, or will they stay separate? So many questions. I imagine to try to save money, they will combine a lot of shit, but that could end up just being mostly office stuff. But this is a big deal, a giant story. It's going to be very interesting to see how it develops later this year and in the coming years. You know, how does Endeavor run a WWE? What does WWE look like outside the hand? Because the wrestling business is not, this is not a sports or entertainment brand like other sports and entertainment brands. Wrestling's very carny and very insidery and very has its own culture and its own rules and its own fucking nomenclature. Is that word work for this situation? You know what happens when a bigger company like Endeavor comes in and buys a carny ass fucking product like WWE with all the shit that can happen backstage at these things. You know, what is a Michael P.S. Hayes and Endeavor? Does that go hand in hand? I don't know. This is gonna be wild times. Interesting to see the changes, but I want to know your thoughts. We've heard a lot of different opinions on this. We've heard different angles and different ways of approaching this and perspectives, I'm sure, over the week. You know, I'm one of the last to talk about it here. But certainly I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think about this move? Are you on board with the fire Vince McMahon situation? And do you think Endeavor will do better with the WWE, or do you think it'll be just a shit product now, or maybe nothing will change at all? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next.
Let me tell you something, brother. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on this channel, dude. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to take your vitamins and say your prayers, brother.